Okay, welcome. This is the Qualys Sales and Marketing webinar. Very excited to have everyone on today. If this is your first Qualys webinar, welcome. I want to do some housekeeping and some quick ideas of things that you need to do and how you can participate. This isn't just something where our guest and I are gonna talk ourselves and you have to just sit and listen. We actually want your participation. So go to your go-to webinar control panel that you used to log in today, and you should find a section called chat or questions. When you go in there, type a message to us. Let us know you can hear us okay. Let us know, where you're calling in from, maybe what company you're with, what your focus is right now, maybe why you're coming in. We're very excited to interact with all you. I've got a special guest who we'll introduce here in a moment. We've also got Whitney White, who, for those who've been on our webinars before, one of our marketing managers here at Qualys, is answering all these questions. As questions come up that are relevant to the discussion, we're going to bring them into the discussion or comments as well. So please feel free to make all those. Looks like we've got lots and lots of people on today. Very exciting. We've got Andrew, welcome. Tia, glad you're on. Scott, Austin, Frank, Lewis, Brian, Mark, John, William, Tim, Jeremy, Rob, Randy, Kyle. It's just so many people. Alan, Matt, thank you very much for everyone being here today. Really excited to have everyone on. And I'm sure we're going to get many more people. It's already over 100 people on right now, and we'll have more coming in as we get closer and closer to 5 minutes past the start time. It seems like 5 minutes is the magic number. But again, very excited to have everyone on today. Some great people coming in. And I guess we want to start now with a poll. I'd like to know if this is your first time attending a Qualys webinar. Some of you, this may be, old hat for. Others, this might be your first time. We did kind of market this as a, for new dealers or new customers. But there's going to be stuff in here for everyone and stuff that's valuable for anyone participating. So don't feel like you have to be a new Qualys customer in order to benefit from this. And for those of you that are veterans, we want to make sure that we address some of your needs and your questions and things like that, because we're guessing that many people, have some questions from previous webinars we've done or previous interactions we've had. So it's looking like, gosh, about 63% of you are saying this is your first webinar. Welcome. Really glad to have you on today. Really glad to have everyone, participating and on the line, and the numbers keep climbing in terms of participation. So it looks like other people are logging on. This is being recorded. So for those of you that want to rewatch this, maybe you get something distracting you in the middle of the webinar, so you get a phone call or an important email you've got to address real quick and you miss some of those important things we talk about. Don't worry, we are going to send out a link to the webinar recording after this event. It'll be sent out in a follow-up email tomorrow, and you can always find those on our YouTube page, youtube.com/Qualys. There's a playlist there just for webinar recordings, which means if this is your first time attending a Qualys webinar and you want to see some of the other amazing webinars we've done, you can go to that same YouTube page and watch some of the other ones. There's some great ones about participating in builder programs, doing LTE upgrades, technical webinars for your installer teams, all sorts of things, and great content. We've had a lot of really great guests over the years. So please go check that out and make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're there. Also, wanted to make sure that we do a very special introduction to our guest of honor today, Mitchell Klein. Mitch, are you on the line? Can you hear us okay?
I am here, and I'm hearing you beautifully. And hey, listen, I'm really delighted to be here with you, Jeremy, and of course all the Qualys dealers as well.
Well, really glad you could be here. Mitch is the executive director of the Z-Wave Alliance. And for those of you that are Qualys webinar veterans, you've been on a webinar now. This is probably your third webinar, right, Mitch?
Are we counting?
I think we are. So
okay,
I think this makes you probably our most popular guest. We've had you now 3 times, and I don't think we've had anyone else besides Qualys employees more than that. So you're the official winner. That's great.
That's very cool.
For those who don't know, Mitch spends a lot of time working with the Z-Wave Alliance, especially talking about IoT and where the future of things are going. And we're going to talk for a little bit about where the IoT market is going, and where we're headed as an industry and how we can get involved in that. In fact, let's dive into some of that data right now, Mitch. One of the pieces of data, I know you've got a really great relationship with Parks Associates, as do we. One of the pieces I thought was really interesting, and we've shared this on a previous webinar as well, is the top 5 smart home devices by purchase intention, with the data point that really shocked me, which is 43% of people plan to purchase a device this year. 25% of them said it's going to be a video doorbell, 24 a smart light bulb, 23 said a smart thermostat, and you can see that the numbers continue to go on there. Many of these devices can and are Z-Wave devices, right?
In fact, they are, and these are truly the top purchases. Again, we can verify that because we know what kind of chips are being sold and who our customers are. So yeah, this is a very accurate representation of what the market is actually buying today. And I think the only thing missing from this one are door locks, and I guess we're going to get into that in a little bit.
And door locks, I believe, was number 6 on the list. If I looked at there was a whole list of devices that was there. I think it's really interesting when you look at these devices, because many consumers are probably buying these non-security related devices. They're going out and they're buying a smart thermostat, but it's maybe an Ecobee or a Nest. And while those are great devices, they are a little more expensive and they don't work within an ecosystem. And ecosystem and interoperability is going to be a big theme today. We're going to be talking about that a lot. So for those of you that are brand new dealers, brand new customers coming on the line today, be aware those terms are very, very important to me. They're very, very important to Mitch. And the concept here is that you do so much more than just security. And I think the theme you're going to see is that there's a lot of people that are going to only sell security. And when you tap into this broader market, knowing that 43% plan to purchase a device like this year, if your way to get into that customer's heart, to get into that customer's home is through the video doorbell, then you should definitely be promoting that. You should definitely be talking about smart thermostats. You should definitely be talking about connected devices and how you can connect them. And we're seeing that increase really improving over time. You can look at the data from 2014 in yellow all the way up to now in green, and you can see that cameras has jumped up significantly. Lighting has jumped up significantly. Video doorbells, which didn't even exist, are up, and these are percentages. So, dealers like you out in the field are reporting that, over 20% of the time now they're installing smart lighting for customers. Over 20% of the time they're installing door locks, and that's, again, almost has doubled since 2014. So I'm only anticipating those numbers to increase even further. Mitch, why do you think that dealers are latching onto this smart home thing so well? What's in your opinion, why is the smart home? I'm stuttering all over today.
Yeah,
why is
I know where you're going with the
security
question.
Industry? Yeah, why is it so appealing to security dealers to offer these kind of technologies?
There are a lot of variables in this one, and we can talk about the business opportunity. We can talk about the stickiness, where we know that one of the keys to keeping your customers as customers is to provide this thing called stickiness. What is it that continues to engage your customers? And then there's the third thing, which is really the awareness has increased significantly. You're seeing television commercials for video doorbells. You're seeing some products come out and running magazine advertisements, television. The awareness of these devices is very significant. And I'd like to also point out that we as security dealers, we are responsible for moving these people and potentially our customers from buying thingies to participating in ecosystems. And that's an enormous move. So people are buying a camera or a doorbell or something. These are thingies. They're one-offs. They got applications on their phones. They got too many applications on their phones. What you guys can do, what Qualys dealers should be doing, and many are in fact doing, is moving them to full ecosystems. And Jeremy, we're going to talk about that in a bit, aren't we?
Absolutely. In fact, if you look at what the consumer expectations are right now, they're changing a lot. There's companies like Ring, Nest, Google and Amazon are getting into our space. We always talked for years at the various industry events about how one day we'll be looking at Apple and Google and Nest Google and Amazon will all be in our space. Well, that's today. They're absolutely selling security. They're absolutely selling smart home devices and things, and those are opportunities for us. Now, I still feel like the traditional security dealer, especially those who are selling Qualys and Alarm.com with Z-Wave products, have a tremendous advantage over these big players, because you can offer the ecosystem that Mitch was talking about a moment ago in a way that no one else can. I mean, you look at what Nest can offer, and they've got this little rubber buttony looking old school hockey puck with buttons on it, and they've got a really beautiful thermostat, and they've got a smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector, and that's about it. Okay. Now, can there be other devices like a Philips Hue light bulb or things like that integrated in the system? Yes, but it's not as elegant as you'd like. And it's, there's not one user interface, there's not one experience, there's not one app, and you can really provide that. We have a great question from Benoit, and I apologize if I didn't pronounce that properly. He says, does a smoke detector really qualify as a smart home device? And I say, absolutely it does, because every single one of these devices provides data. That smoke detector is providing data to the home that there is smoke detected, and that then can trigger an alert, and that alert can trigger behavior, or it can trigger a central station to drive something out. The ability to have all of these devices connected together. I mean, I love the idea of, during a fire, what if you created a rule for your customer that said, when smoke detectors are on, turn on my smart light so I can see in the dark, unlock my front door so I can get out of the house easier and don't have to, reach for the lock, and then also alert the authorities and get the fire department on their way. What a nice,
maybe we want to
easy
flash
way
the
to
outdoor
get
lighting
out.
too at the same time, don't we? Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, or turn on the outdoor sprinklers so that if I'm stopped, dropping, and rolling, that will help me douse myself. And there's any number of things you can do, and the more devices you connect, the more powerful it becomes. And you alluded to this a moment ago, but these ecosystems are something that the security dealers on the line today, as you offer them, it doesn't have to be one of these things that you offer right now today during the sale. It should be and has to be one of those things that is a lifetime pursuit. There's always going to be new devices coming out. There's always going to be new technologies coming out. And as those new devices come out, you make your customers aware of them, and then they want to buy them. And whether you sell them to them or you offer them as an incentive for a referral, or create some kind of discount program because you're an existing customer, you get 50% off any additional cameras you get, whatever you decide, is up to you how you structure it. But truly, customers are looking for new devices, and you can provide those to them. I thought this piece of data was interesting too. From the pro install market, 87% of homes, these are broadband households, I believe, have no smart home hub. Is that accurate? It shocked me. I thought for sure there'd be some kind of smart home hub in the house. And of those, only 13% have a smart home hub. Of those, only 5% are integrated with security, and 8% are independent with security. So the 8% might be things like the, what's that one? I keep blanking on its name. The Samsung Smart Things Hub. That's independent with security, as opposed to like the IQ panel, which is integrated with security. So there's a really small portion of the market that even has this stuff, which means tremendous opportunity for our dealers, right, Mitch?
Look at that big gray space there that's available to all the dealers.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And the more you talk to your customers about what you can do, the more exciting it becomes. In fact, I was having a great conversation with a customer just yesterday. We were talking about how to, do LTE upgrades. They have a large database of LTE customers on 3G that need to be moved up to LTE. And we were talking about the different tactics. And I was sharing the data that we shared just a moment ago about consumers wanting to buy this stuff. And I said, there might be some customers who want the video doorbell. There might be others who want a camera. There might be others who are looking for a thermostat. Whatever that thing is, once they get it, then you've got the opportunity to market to them and show them the other things you can do. So it's not necessarily a matter of, I only do security and then I can also do these other things. Your route to market might be the smart light bulb. And your data as well, Mitch, we were talking about this yesterday as we prepared for this call. The smart light bulb is probably the most popular Z-Wave device, isn't it?
Yeah, well, smart lighting in general, not necessarily just the bulb.
Lighting,
but,
yeah.
In my previous experience, and again, guys may not know this, but I had a custom installation company for over 15 years, so I'm quite familiar with the process and sales and the challenges that all of you guys face. And one of the things that I did early on was, when I installed a system, I gave them a dimmer. Okay, just free. Hey, you know what? Try this. It's like, giving them a taste of the forbidden fruit. Once they taste that light, they're going to want more. So, there's some good marketing opportunities that lighting will avail you.
Yep. And you know what? You mentioned locks earlier today. It was like that for my family with locks. My wife was not terribly into any of this stuff, but the moment I put a smart lock on the door, suddenly now it's like, oh, we should maybe make our lights smart. We should get a smart thermostat. We should get. Now we're suddenly adding all sorts of things. I think we've got a total of like close to 75 Z-Wave devices in our house now. We've got sensors on almost everything you could put it on. And she loves the kind of data and information it gives her. And she wasn't interested at all until that smart lock where she didn't have to have keys and could use a code on it. That was what appealed to her, and that was what brought us in. And now again, we've got smart lighting and all sorts of things. It's a lot of fun. Let's talk about Z-Wave for a little bit, because Z-Wave is an interesting technology, and I don't know that everyone on the call today fully understands Z-Wave. Mitch, at a high level, what is Z-Wave, and how did you get into your role as the executive director of the Z-Wave Alliance?
Yeah, this is one of those topics or technologies that your customers may or may not be interested in. But what I can tell you is Z-Wave is the most dominant platform for devices to communicate to each other within the smart home. It is 100% focused on the smart home, and essentially it's the enabler. So Z-Wave gets built into all your favorite brands of door locks, lighting controls, thermostats,
Mm-hmm.
sensors, and so on and so forth. And it's the enabling technology. And I guess we're going to dive into a little bit of what this means and why Z-Wave has become so popular in a moment, once we figure out, of course, which of your installing Z-Wave products, which you're doing pretty regularly. Um, Z-Wave, not to be confused with the other Z, you've probably heard of that one as well, which is Zigbee, which is
Mm-hmm.
a similar type of platform or technology, but it is not just focused on the smart home and has, let's just say, interoperability and some of the other things we're going to talk about are not a given. So Z-Wave is highly focused on the smart home.
Well, I think one thing I really personally love about Z-Wave is it's unlike other wireless protocols that are out there in the market. We're all familiar with when you connect, the more phones or devices you connect to your Wi-Fi, the more it bogs down, the more you're using it, the slower it goes. But that's not the case with Z-Wave, is it?
Yeah, not only that, yes, that's true because it is built on a mesh network, which we'll touch in a moment in terms of why that's powerful. But it also operates in the sub-gig frequency, which means it doesn't collide with all the things going on with Wi-Fi streaming. People are gaming in their home, things like that. But the other piece is, and I used to ask my customers this all the time, are you happy with the Wi-Fi coverage in your house? And generally the answer is, well,
Mm-hmm.
no, it doesn't work. I have dead zones, dead areas. And that's
Mm-hmm.
because the laws of physics, when you're operating at the Wi-Fi frequency of 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, it's a very, very small frequency and it doesn't travel all that well through building materials. You may even find like
Mm-hmm.
you're in one room, if you open the door to the room, it works fine. As soon as you close the door, for some reason, you don't get Wi-Fi. Um, Z-Wave operates in the sub-gig frequency, which actually does penetrate building materials very, very effectively, which is why it was chosen that way. So again, there's a lot more to it
Mm-hmm.
than that, but that's certainly a good point to understand.
Yeah, I love our audience participation poll. Again, it kind of shocked me here. Locks is coming out at 47%, and they're doing those regularly. Lights 15%, thermostats 29%. And I think I understand those numbers because locks are one of those things that, is closely tied to security. It is one of those things that a lot of people look at and say, I want to be able to access my home in and out. And lighting is a little trickier. We'll talk a little bit about what kind of lighting things you can do here in a little bit. But lighting, there's lots of ways to do it, but to do it right, it's in-wall switches or smart light bulbs or things like that. But it's really a combination of solutions. And lighting is also probably a lot more expensive. You probably get a door lock you'd use every single day, whereas to do the lights properly, you've got to do all the lights in your house, or at least the vast majority. So I think I understand these results a little bit. I
Yeah,
would
or
be
you could do
curious to
pathways
know,
with lights. The thing is,
certainly.
how many thermostats are you going to put in a home? You got one, two, maybe
Mm-hmm.
three zones. But when you talk about lights, how
Mm-hmm.
many lighting devices do you have in the house? Well,
Yeah.
then you can start
Yep.
talking about multiples, quite a bit of lighting devices. Something to think about.
Yep. Yep, and we've got some good questions here. Matt's asking, can the Nest video doorbell and the thermostat, like other devices, be combined with the Alarm.com platform? Matt, the unfortunate truth is Nest wants everyone to be on their platform. And while there might be some limited integration with things here and there, I believe there used to be, and I don't even know if there still is, an integration with the Nest thermostat. Most of the people that are buying Nest are buying it and wanting to be on the Nest platform, and Nest doesn't want to share the data and give the information to Alarm.com, to Qualsys, to you guys in order to, broaden that scope. They're more interested in making sure that everyone gets on their cloud and their services and things like that. And I guess I don't blame them. They're in business for themselves, but that interoperability, that's one of the challenges with interoperability, right, Mitch, is because people say, well, I want everyone to be in my data silo, so therefore I'm not going to share my data. I'm not going to spread my data around. And that's one of the beautiful things about Z-Wave and how every Z-Wave device works no matter what.
Yeah, Nest moved away from their Works with Nest platform, and their goal is to move everyone over to the Google side, to the Google Smart Home Hub, and say what you will about it, whether it's the product or what have you. The question that you may want to ask yourself or your client is, do you want to be on the Google platform? Do you want Google to know what you're doing?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'll leave that one alone. Let's move into Z-Wave, and let's talk about,
yeah, absolutely.
I guess I like to call like the four legs of the table, which is really kind of builds the platform for Z-Wave. And as you can see on the graphic here, interoperability is a key. So if you are a manufacturer and you build a door lock and you want to use Z-Wave, we as Z-Wave, we have a mandate that you must comply with certain aspects of the development that ensures interoperability. So whether it's a Yale or an August or a Kwikset or a Schlage or any other number of other brands, they will all be able to work within the same ecosystem with Qualsys. The
Mm-hmm.
next big
Yep.
thing
So
for us is
no matter what light brand you buy, if you pair it, it's going to pair the light, and then you'll be able to control it as a light on the panel. Very simple.
correct, as long as it says the Z-Wave Plus, which we're going to show you the Z-Wave logo in a moment. But yes, that is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely correct. And one of the cool things about that, the reason why we've been so fastidious about it, is you have available many solutions that may not be available on other platforms. So in other words, let's say you stick with a particular brand of lighting devices or door locks, but you have one particular use case, a particular door that you can't use your favorite brand of door lock, but there's another brand that has a solution for you. You can mix and match. They will all work. Companies can develop solutions that would normally not be available because they couldn't build an entire product line around it. They can build a simple solution that would work. So that's really key in terms of the foundation. The next important thing is what we call backwards compatibility. So many of you on this webinar may find that you upgrade or change your smartphone every 6 months or 12 months or 18 months. But you'd be hard pressed to find customers that are updating their door locks or replacing their thermostats every year. And yet
Mm-hmm.
the technology, Z-Wave, is constantly moving forward, constantly adding enhancements, and we're going to talk about two of them in a moment. But every time we do an update or an enhancement or an improvement to the Z-Wave platform, we guarantee any existing Z-Wave devices will continue to operate. And that's the backwards compatible mandate. So that's really important to
Mm-hmm.
understand as well.
And that all comes from that interoperability certification, right? That Z-Wave Plus logo. When you look at a device or a panel and it has that Z-Wave Plus logo, you can rest assured that it's going to work, right?
Correct. And just go back to the previous slide for a second, because there's two other things to talk
Sure.
about. And one is what we call the best-in-class security. Hey, listen, you guys are security dealers. You understand the perimeter and the physical side of the security. But there's also the soft side of it, the hacking side of it. Z-Wave has never been hacked, okay, outside of a lab. And yet, even that said, we upgraded our security platform to what we call S2 as a mandate back, was it 2017? And what this
Mm-hmm.
is, without getting too technical in detail, is we are essentially mimicking online banking security. We're using the same type of security that online banks use for each and every Z-Wave Plus device. So you can rest assured that it is absolutely locked down secure from a software side. So that ties into the hardware side, which is why it is that Qualsys and other security panels are so committed to using Z-Wave. And we'll talk about Smart Start in a moment, but that was also, it's in process. It's a technology
Hmm.
that is being adapted. Jeremy, I don't know if you want to get into that now, but
No, we'll
it's
talk
in,
about it in a minute. That is a
okay.
core one though,
Okay, so we're going to get into that in a
definitely.
minute. But again, these are all layered improvements that still will ensure interoperability with existing products.
Hmm. And
And
that
hence,
certification comes on the device level and on the panel level. I know we have to go through extensive work, our teams working together to make sure that the IQ panel meets and exceeds all the requirements needed to pass its interoperability certification. And we have that and are listed as one of the certified devices on there. And that also means that any of the other devices that are certified will work. Now, are there people out there using Z-Wave that don't certify, Mitch, or are all Z-Wave devices certified?
if a company is commercializing a product, meaning selling it, it is a mandate to have your product certified. Now, that is not to say that companies aren't finding ways to buy chips and bypass the system. You're probably all familiar with that arcade game called Whack-A-Mole. But we are
Hmm.
very, very serious about making sure every product goes through certification, and we take legal action against those that do not certify.
And to me, it's about the quality of service, right? We talked about that interoperability, that mesh network that occurs in there. And when you make sure that you're certified and you're using Z-Wave certified products, it makes it easy for you to ensure that the product's going to work. And that's, while it might feel weird to say that, that's a concern, especially for the people on the call today. They go
Right.
into a house, and I remember, 10 years ago, people would literally just be throwing dimmers and outlet modules into houses hoping to fix the problem. And we've alleviated some of that with some of the on-screen tools that we'll share in a moment to help map out that mesh network and help you troubleshoot things before you leave. But knowing that it's going to work, knowing that it's got the right kind of range, knowing that it can self-heal. I think self-healing is a big part of this. That if one of those nodes gets removed, that the network automatically remaps itself to adjust for that missing node and make sure that everything's going to work properly. And you can get a notification saying, hey, by the way, this particular node was powered off or removed or things like that. But it really allows this really excellent network of devices inside the home so that the more you build the network, the faster the network performs and the better response time you're going to get out of it, right?
Yeah, and I think it's important to point out two things. Number one, understand what a mesh network is, but you don't have to deploy the mesh network. It is done automatically for you. Okay, and we're going to talk about the toolkit that Qualsys has built into their panels for you to check on. But so A, you don't have to deploy it, it's done automatically. Number two is
Mm-hmm.
the more devices you put in, the stronger the mesh network becomes. So you never have to worry about, oh my gosh, how many pieces do I have? How many devices do I have? The self-healing thing is really important to understand. And I'll use an example. One of our technical director likes to call the problem of vacuum fade. Some of you may have heard of this. So you've got, say, a plug-in switch that, say, the housekeeper comes in, unplugs it to plug in their vacuum cleaner, and then doesn't plug that switch back in again. Okay, what happens to the system? Well, if the system was using that switch as a repeater, it will find another one automatically within microseconds. In other words, the homeowner would never know that there was a problem. So that's important to understand in terms of the self-healing side of it.
Well, and that brings us to a question. Christopher's asking, what are the distance limitations of Z-Wave?
In an open field, with the latest chipsets, we're very conservative. We say, 30 feet, but we can actually go about 100 feet with it. Obviously, the type of building materials are important to understand as well. Um, and the distance is really limited by FCC rules in terms of how strong the radio can be in terms of, its strength and range. So we like to say 30. Practice, it's about 100 feet. And again, you can always put in more devices that will always extend the range of the Z-Wave system.
Correct. So if you had a device that was, call it 15 to 30 feet away from the IQ panel, and then you put another device 15 or 30 feet away from that device, you're now out at 60 feet. And you could put other devices even further than that. As long as they could reach that first device, then it could do that. Now, you do have on here that every node can be a repeater, but every node isn't necessarily a repeater. What requirement do you have on a Z-Wave device in order for it to be a repeater?
Yeah, very simple. It needs to be a powered device. So battery devices would not be a repeater. So a battery sensor would not be a
Mm-hmm.
repeater simply because it would, wear down your battery life. So anything that is
Mm-hmm.
powered is a repeater automatically. That's part of
And
this,
in,
the requirement.
and in my experience, it's usually thermostats that aren't connected to the home's power with what's called a C wire are oftentimes running only on battery, and also door locks are often only running on battery. So door locks and
Correct.
thermostats might be the ones that you would not have as repeaters, but lights would definitely fall in as repeaters. We've got a great Z-Wave siren. Mark was mentioning that in the comments a moment ago. There's a great Z-Wave siren that runs off Z-Wave
Yep.
that it can also be a repeater. The Z-Wave light bulbs are great little repeaters. So there's lots of little devices. And again, like Mitch said, the more devices you add to your system, the more the stronger that network gets and the faster it gets. Got some other questions here. Mark says it's self-healing, but shouldn't you always recommend refreshing the network? It's a great question, Mark, and we do have on the panel the tools to be able to go in and rediscover the network, but it should auto-refresh. The rediscover tool that's on the panel, and we'll get into that in a little bit here in a moment, the rediscover tool that's on the panel is actually designed to happen automatically, but if you want to manually cause it to do it, you can, if that makes sense.
Correct.
Okay.
And when it
Mike
refreshes,
says,
it's
wow,
always
that's
going to look at,
cool.
yeah, sorry about that.
No,
Yeah,
no,
it's
you're
always
fine. Go
going to
ahead.
look at multiple ways. How can I get from point A to point B? So should one of the pathways go down, it already knows other pathways are available to it.
So Robbie's got a really interesting roadmap type question. Will there ever be a Z-Wave connected camera? My understanding is Z-Wave doesn't, the technology, the sensor or the signaling technology, the wireless technology doesn't have the bandwidth for camera streaming, or am I wrong about that?
You're right, but the answer is actually yes, and I'll tell you why. So first of all, Z-Wave is specifically designed to be low bandwidth, quick burst, so it's never intended to stream video. However, there are some companies right now far along in development, I'm not sure I can even talk about them yet, that are using Z-Wave for a control side. So you would still use Wi-Fi for the video portion of it, but using Z-Wave for the command and control portion of it. And yeah, actually that is happening right now.
Mm-hmm. And Kyle says, lights. What if the light is turned off? Well, so let me give you a couple scenarios. So I've got in my house a bunch of Jasco brand Z-Wave light switches. If that light is turned off, the Z-Wave radio is still powered inside the light switch, and so it's still acting as a repeater. I have also a few IQ light bulbs. They're a Z-Wave light bulb installed in closets on my front porch and things like that. Because that's the light bulb, those light bulbs still had switches associated with them. I've got a little plastic piece that I put on to force that switch to stay in the on position. If someone were to move that plastic piece and switch that light off, then there would no longer be power to the light bulb, which means the Z-Wave radio in the light bulb's no longer getting power, and it's no longer acting as a repeater. So even if the light is turned off, as long as that switch is on and there's still power to the device, the radio inside would still function as a Z-Wave repeater and still continue to strengthen that network. So great question, Kyle. Thanks for asking it.
Yeah, the radio is always going to be looking for a command.
Mm-hmm. Mark's asking, will there ever be Z-Wave capability to transfer to another panel instead of delete and relearn? Interesting concept. And I think, part of Smart Start, when we talk about Smart Start and how easy Smart Start is, that may eliminate the need for what you're talking about here. In fact, let's keep going, because I know there's a lot of content we want to cover today. But keep those questions coming, guys. Whitney's answering all of them for us. And we want your participation as much as possible. So Mitch, there's a lot of companies out there in the Z-Wave Alliance building smart devices.
Yeah, you probably can't read all these logos, so let me start at the bottom. I'll read them all off to you. No, actually, we're a little over 700 member companies, and the large logos at the top actually represents our board of directors. But yeah, I mean, if companies that are even doing Wi-Fi products are still doing Z-Wave because they want to be part of that ecosystem. We are also encouraging integrators, installers, security companies To join the alliance, we have a special category for you guys to join, which, as you can see, well, what does that mean? Well, basically, again, these are the 4 pillars that we talk about in terms of what we do as an alliance. Number 1 is we're training. We're providing training and education. I think Qualsys does a fabulous job of that. And this enables implementation.
Thank you.
The goal here is for you guys to be very successful in your businesses and to have happy customers and enable those customers to be as cutting edge as you can enable them and they want to be. So grow attachments is an important piece. We're also promoting with thought leadership, and this is an indirect benefit to you guys between the thought leadership events and the outreach. These are 3 things that we do as an alliance to keep Z-Wave in the front of the conversation, to make it very much aware. You're reading the trade magazines, you're reading the consumer magazines. There was even a piece in Reader's Digest last week about Z-Wave. So even though there's not a direct benefit to you as a dealer, we are constantly building up the awareness and the value of Z-Wave. And that's what those 4 pillars are all about.
Yep, I appreciate that. So we've got a lot of questions here, and some of these questions are going to be answered as we continue on. So I'm going to keep on going. Before we dive into the next section here, I do want to ask everyone another poll question. Are you currently installing Qualsys products? And this is either a yes or a not yet, because my assumption is everyone's eventually going to be installing Qualsys products because they're just so great. And I'm not biased at all. This is my honest opinion.
No, I love my Qualsys panel.
Yep, Mitch, you've got one as well. And I think it's interesting to me to see the change that's been in the market, because I know a lot of our customers have really, expressed to us how much new life and new excitement that, selling the IQ panel has brought into their business, whether that's reinvigorating the sales team, or that has been, in some of the marketing support that we provide, and we'll showcase some of that here in a moment, or even just simply the fact that they've got features and benefits that are unique and interesting that the customer actually wants, and the customer's now no longer haggling price, but instead they're talking about how they want to get this technology in their home. And it's a very similar experience, a very similar sales experience to buying a smartphone, in my opinion. I know that when I sit down and I watch the commercials about the latest Android device or the latest, Apple device, oftentimes I'm watching them and thinking, ooh, look how cool that is. Oh, look what you can do with it. And I get excited about the features and the benefits. And I oftentimes don't even know how much it is. It's not until I go to the website and click the buy button that I find out how much it's going to cost. And then that's where I go either, wow, I didn't know it was going to be that expensive. Or I say, okay, well, I'm going to have to save up my pennies for that one. Or, yeah, that's fair because it does so many awesome things. It's worth it to me. But the price doesn't come into the equation nearly as often because I'm focusing on the features and benefits. And I think that's one thing that Qualsys has really done well, is providing features and benefits that allow people to, get excited about what they're doing. And we started with really a computer. We took that computer, we took that tablet, and we combined it with an old rubber button keypad, essentially. And that's, so we ended up with the IQ panel. And it really is this great wireless rock concert of interoperability. We've got 7 different wireless radios, all working within one ultra-thin platform. There's LTE and Wi-Fi. There's Bluetooth. There's a built-in access point. There's Power G. There's a legacy security radio. And there's Z-Wave Plus. All these radios working together simultaneously to perform different things. And I think one thing, when you're talking to a consumer, I'm sure Mitch would love you to mention the word Z-Wave every single time you're in a customer's home. But oftentimes customers aren't going to understand the difference between Z-Wave and LTE and Wi-Fi and Power G and Bluetooth. They just want their device to work. So it's important that you have a platform that allows those devices to work, and you can just get everything paired up and working without having to explain to the customer, well, this one's going to use the Wi-Fi protocol, but this other device is going to use Bluetooth, and this other device is going to be Z-Wave. Customer doesn't need to memorize it. They don't need the training, but you do. And that's why we do these kind of webinars and our technical webinars. And little plug for our technical webinar. We do have another technical webinar tomorrow. For those of you that want to attend that, the link to those technical webinars were in the email you used to subscribe to this particular webinar. But if you don't have that or need that, chat it or make a comment in on the question section, and we'll get you that link so you can participate in that. Great question here. Christopher says, is there any benefit to using Qualys contacts with better range than using PowerG contacts and motions? Good question. So range is always a concern. And well, I guess I won't say always a concern. It is often a concern. If you've got a smaller home, range is not as much of a concern, but making sure that sensors are working is always a concern. Making sure that you don't have to drive back home or drive back to the home and fix a sensor because it was working when you left, but then everyone got home and turned on all their devices and ran the microwave and they're making dinner and dad's in the garage with his welder and all sorts of things happening, so that suddenly now there's a bunch of wireless noise and now your devices are not working. So Mitch mentioned Z-Wave Plus working on that sub-gigahertz band that allows Z-Wave to travel not only through walls and through doors and things and get the good range it is, but it's also not going to interfere as much. PowerG operates in a 900 megahertz band that is also can change channels up to, I think it's 50 times a second or something like that. Whenever interference is detected, it changes channel to find a clear channel to broadcast on. The legacy security devices operate on either 433 megahertz, 319 megahertz, or 345 megahertz, depending on which flavor or brand of sensor you're using. Those generally have a range of about 100 feet and are good for most residential homes. But in the event that you need something that has a little bit more oomph to it, a little more distance, PowerG is a great sensor. And because every single panel has both radios in it, if you had a situation where you said, hey, I'm going to put, Qualys S-line door window sensors, on the front door, the back door, use the motion sensor, but there's a detached garage out there and the sensor won't go all the way out into the backyard, well, I'll just place a PowerG sensor on that one. And that works great. Or you've got a big, large house that needs almost all PowerG sensors, but you can do one or two S-line sensors, maybe on kitchen cabinets or things like that, where you want them in the home. So again, balancing all of these radios together allows you as a dealer and as an installer to really provide the best level of service to the customer based on affordability, based on the scenario, based on what they want to do and things like that. And it's all housed together in this beautiful little package. And we love to use the phrase looks matter, because it really does. There's a lot of customers out there who say, I don't care how well it functions. If it doesn't look pretty, I don't want it on my wall. Many of us have smartphones and don't take full advantage of all the features on the smartphones, but we want to have that smartphone because of what it can do and how it looks and how it feels. And that looks extends not just to how the plastic and glass is, but it's the actual user interface as well. The user interface is really beautiful, really easy to use. And we're going to show you some examples of how, especially Z-Wave devices, work well on the IQ panel here shortly. We talk for a moment. I want to briefly, because I know that there is a significant number of people who are brand new to Qualys, and this is your first webinar. I want to make sure that you understand when you're out there marketing, one of the biggest things you can do, one of the things we talked about this webinar being is a way to increase your sales. And one of the biggest suggestions I would have is focus on the differentiators. If you focus, here's an example. Go to your website right now. Pull it up on your phone, pull it up on your computer. If you're in front of your computer, go to your website right now and look at what is the first thing that stands out to you. Is it something that no one else has, or is it something that everyone else has? I'm willing to bet a vast majority of people on this call, the first thing on their website, the lead messaging, the lead information for a consumer come to your website is something about reliable monitoring service, or how we've been a trusted company since 1902 or whatever that is. I'm hard pressed to find security companies behaving like the Googles and the Nests and the Amazons of the world. There's a few out there, but many of them are promoting themselves and the merit of the company, and not necessarily the features that would set them apart and cause people to say, I want that product. And we have this conversation as a marketing team all the time with our customers as we help them to redo their websites. And if you would like some help with yours, we would love to help you work on your website and also get you added to our Find a Dealer tool. So again, type in the question box there that you would love some assistance with that, and our marketing team will set up an appointment with you and go through some of those things with you. So think about these things and how these might appear. Again, this is just your website. I'm not even talking about social media. I'm not even talking about your sales meetings, things like that. This affects all of those. But let's just think about your website for a second. If you were to showcase Bluetooth disarming and showing a video or images of mom coming home with her hands full, the door lock unlocking, the porch light turning on, the kitchen light turning on, the thermostat turning on, turning up to, warm the house again, and the security system disarmed. If you were to show that, do you think that people who are coming to your website would be more excited about that or the fact that you've offered reliable monitoring since 1902? What's gonna move the needle for you from a sales standpoint? And what's the purpose of your website? Is the purpose of your website to sell more product, to generate more interest? Think about live view, live answer. Video doorbells, we just saw today how powerful and popular the video doorbell is. 43% of people said that they're going to buy a smart device this year, and 25% of those said it's going to be a video doorbell. If that's the case, showing off how you can answer your phone from the panel, answer your front door from the panel or from your phone, and be able to interact with someone and unlock the front door and disarm the security system right there from that interface, that's powerful and that's exciting, and that's what people are wanting. Is that going to be more compelling than reliable monitoring since 1902? I believe it is. Any of these features, the disarm photos using the built-in camera, dual path connectivity, the ability to have both LTE and Wi-Fi working together to make sure that you never miss a signal, but everything's going lightning fast and you can download those software updates to continue to improve. A free glass break detector built into the panel. The fact that you can use the panels of photo frame. These are just a few examples of the differentiating features that IQ Panel offers. And these should be prominent in all of your sales efforts. Your salespeople walking out, whether they're doing door-to-door or at a home show, or they're setting up an appointment with a customer, or even talking with someone over the phone. Are they leading with these things? The things that are going to get people excited and get people to say, I want that product. And then later on, once they've decided that they want that product, then they can say, well, how much is it going to cost? But you sell them on the excitement first. I want to show you just one example of a video we've made for Bluetooth disarming. And you can see, we talked, a little bit about what it does a moment ago, but think about the devices you're going to sell. If you go in only thinking security and you're saying, look how easy it is to disarm your system. And mom comes home and the door lock unlocks. And inevitably, if you show this video to your customer, either on the web or in your in-person sales visit, one of the first questions you're going to get is, well, can it also unlock my door? Well, can it turn on my light? Can it adjust my thermostat? Can it do those things? And your response is, it sure can. I just need to get you the right device. I need to get you the right Z-Wave device to put in your home so that it can do those things. So when you come home, it's literally like a hands-free magic show. Door unlocks, lights turn on, things like that. It's a really exciting thing. Now, there was a question earlier today. Someone asked about geofences and how geofences play into this, especially with thermostats. I think geofences is tremendously powerful, and I'll share a story of my own personal experience. My wife, I mentioned earlier, didn't really like to use our security system. She got more excited about using things when we got our door lock, but she wasn't really into arming and disarming the security system. And then we got the new IQ Panel 2, and it had Bluetooth disarming. And I created a rule that said, when Bluetooth disarm, unlock front door and turn the thermostat back up to the right temperature. I suddenly started getting notifications on my phone. System was armed in away mode. That's interesting. I'd been at work for a while. Why was it armed in away mode? Like, is that my wife? And I realized my wife had started arming the system. Why the heck is she arming the system all the time? Like, is she worried about something? And I asked her, honey, are you starting to get nervous about things? Like, what? I noticed you started arming the security system. She goes, no. I arm it because I don't want to have to disarm it and unlock the front door when I get home. She's using the system more because she wants to use it less. Now, what are the benefits I get or our family gets because of that behavior? Well, first off, the system is automatically armed when she's gone. That's protecting our home. Second off, when our system is armed, I've created rules that say, when system armed, turn off all the lights, lock the doors, close the garage, arm the security system, turn off the fireplace, turn off the space heater, turn off the fan. My home is secure and energy efficient. And so I actually saw our power bill drop. We live in Utah. We don't have a high expensive, energy price. we were paying about $125 a month for our power. And I saw that power bill drop down to between 60 and 80 a month because of geofences. Because geofences were reminding her, you didn't arm the security system. And she said, oh, that's right. I want to arm it because I want to use that hands-free experience when I get home. And so now she's using the system. And because we've invested money in buying smart lighting and smart locks and things like that, now the more we add to the system, the more exciting it becomes. Now, we talked earlier about how it doesn't all happen overnight. Okay, it's one of those things you have to nurture the customer along the way. And I highly recommend using incentives like, refer a friend and get a free door lock, or, refer two friends and, we'll update all your lighting in your house. Whatever it is, you need to figure out what your financials are, how much you're willing to pay, whether or not you're going to, let the customer install it themselves or you're going to professionally install it, and things like that. But having incentives to refer friends, or even just specials of the month. Special of the month, get 50% off of this particular device, and getting people to use them. Tremendously, tremendously powerful. Before I move on, I want to look real quick because I know we've got tons and tons of questions. I want to make sure there's no questions that I need to answer about Bluetooth. While I'm scanning that, Mitch, in your opinion, just from your personal experience, what is the most popular Z-Wave device and why?
That does so vary, but I'd have to say the biggest growing category that we see are the door locks. That's huge. And again, using it the way you've been talking about with the automatic unlock through the panel, I think is enormous and really needs to be explained to customers because that's like a no-brainer. But door locks front, back, I mean, that's really, really very popular these days and growing. And there's more and more brands, more and more designs, some very sleek, some with keypad, some with key and keypad, some with nothing but, fobs. So it's a very, very popular category.
Yeah, absolutely. Whitney's done a really great job answering all the questions, and I appreciate you guys doing them. I do want to mention two questions that I saw in here that I'd like to share. One is from Charles. He says, realistically, if everything gets shut down when the system is armed, isn't there always ghost energy consumption? Yes, there absolutely is. And that's why my power bill didn't go from 125 a month down to zero. There's always going to be some consumption. There's, my routers are still running. I still got, things going. There might be a DVR or things like that going. Xboxes, downloading software updates in the background, tablets that might be connected. There's always going to be some kind of power. Just charging things is always going to happen. But I can choose which devices I want to turn off because I know that I don't want them running. And for me, it's about power that's not being used. Like a light. If no one's home and I'm in away mode, I don't need to use that light. The light doesn't need to be on for lighting a room that no one's in. The other piece is devices that potentially pose threats, like a space heater. If a space heater has a failure and catches fire, that's a risk. But if the power is cut off to the switch that the space heater is plugged into, there's no way for that space heater to catch fire. My gas fireplace has a Z-Wave switch on it. And again, if that is turned off and has no power to it and switched off, then again, I don't have to worry about there potentially being a fire or things like that. So the other one, Benoit asks, which door lock would you rate best? I think this is personal preference. I really love the Yale B1L door lock on my front door. The reason I love it is because it's push button. I actually prefer the push button over the sleeker touchscreen one because it's faster and my kids oftentimes don't mess it up. And there's no key on it, so it's really small. So I personally love that one. But I've also got a quick set touchscreen on my back door. And when we're having, backyard parties and things like that, it's a really nice show-off piece and oftentimes gets people asking, ooh, that's a cool lock. What is that? Tell me about it. And I get a chance to show off my smart home system and create a lead for, one of my dealer friends here in the area. So it's really personal preference. And again, Kwikset, Schlage, and Yale all integrate so perfectly. And then Yale also has the new August locks that integrate as well. So thank you very much for asking those questions.
Said.
Let's keep on going. Go ahead. I want to talk for a moment about panel camera. Every single panel has a camera, and we promised a mention of Smart Start, and this is where we want to talk about it. If you look at the panel camera improvements we've made over software update, we started with people asking us, why are you putting a camera on the panel? And our first reaction was, well, there's a camera on every phone. There's a camera on every tablet. Why not? And then we started thinking, people started asking, what are you going to do with it? And we're like, we'll take a photograph when someone disarms the system. Well, that's duh. Of course you should do that. You know, it used to be that everyone shared the family code. And when that code was used, you'd get a text message, perhaps that says system was disarmed. You didn't know who did it. You didn't know if it was the right person. You know, if someone shared their code with someone, everyone's code would have to change. You know, now, because everyone's got their own code, and you could do that before, but no one really did it before. Now everyone's wanting to have their own code, because now when the system's disarmed by Jake, my 14-year-old son, I get a photograph of Jake, and I can see that it's Jake, and that Jake didn't share that code with someone else, that Jake is okay. He didn't come home with a fat lip or a black eye or, whatever, that he's happy, that he's fine, and I don't have to worry. It's an extra peace of mind. So that panel camera was really nice, having those disarmed photos. And we started with them on the panel. We then, through software update, pushed those up to the cloud so you could get a text message with it. And we said, well, let's also take a photo during an alarm. Well, then let's also, take video during an alarm and record up to 4 minutes of video during the alarm event. And every single software update, we were pushing out new cool things we could do to the camera on the panel. Motion detector. Now we're suddenly using pixel change technology to detect motion, to say, hey, turn on a light, turn on turn the thermostat, things like that. Then we said, well, let's use that motion sensor in conjunction with disarm photos, because Bluetooth disarming was so popular, but people were saying, I love Bluetooth disarming, but I don't get a disarm photo. I want my disarm photos. Well, we'll turn on the motion sensor after a remote disarm, whether it's Bluetooth or your mobile app or even voice control. And now you're still going to get that disarm photo. It's just that instead of it's someone at the panel, now it's someone maybe walking near the panel. And then we said, well, let's use face recognition. And we worked with alarm.com to push out the ability to detect faces and send you an unexpected activity alert if the face was not recognized. And then people said, well, can I peek in? I want to be able to use my mobile app to see what the camera sees. So we enabled peek in, and that just released this year, to be able to peek in now or the next time the panel detects motion. And our last software update, our 2.4 software update, released the ability to do Smart Start. And Smart Start requires some things. It's going to be on panels that ship with 2.4. That way it doesn't destroy your whole Z-Wave network. And you can ask one of our technical teams about that if you like. But this makes for really, really easy Z-Wave enrollment, and uses the camera to scan a QR code that's right on the box. And we've got an image of that we'll show here in just a moment. But the other thing I want to make sure you understand is we're not stopping. There's still something happening. We're working on several significant improvements to the panel camera that are coming in the future. And I wish I could share those with you right now, but I'm not the type that gives spoilers. And let's just say it's worth the wait, and the panels you're installing today should be able to take those via software update and continue to improve them. So pretty awesome. If you're out at distribution and you want to be able to purchase one of the IQ panels, just recognize that there's 3 boxes. Again, this is mainly for your new customers, new dealers who aren't familiar with our packaging. We've got 3 different color schemes. The gold box has legacy support for 319 megahertz. So if you're using the Qualys S-Line sensors, or maybe you're replacing an old Interlogix panel, you use that gold box. That still has Z-Wave Plus. It still has either Verizon, AT&T, or TELUS cellular radio in it. It still has dual path connectivity, still has Bluetooth disarming, still has Power G. So all of the panels have all of those. The difference in the colors is basically what legacy support we provide. And we provide support for all 3 legacy frequencies that make up 95% of the market. So no matter which old system you're replacing, whether it's for an LTE upgrade or a new customer who is converting from another company and wants you to reuse all their existing sensors, if you're taking over an old Honeywell system or a 2 gig system, you use the silver box for 345 megahertz. If you're taking over an old ADT system, maybe it's an old DSC and PASA or something like that, again, you can use the red box with the 433 megahertz. So if you need more information on that or have more questions on that, chat in the question box in the question section, and we can address that more. But the nice thing is you don't need a translator for those. Those natively work with all those, which means you can learn in your life safety devices as well. It's a really, really powerful solution. And there's hardwire compatibility as well. So if you're taking over an old hardwire system, you get the gold box, and then you add in our hardwire 16 device, and you can wire in all the sensors to that, and then it will communicate wirelessly with the gold panel. Let's talk about lighting. light, there's a lot of compatible lights out there, and you can see the user interface for lights on the panel. The moment you add your first light, you get this lights page, and it's literally just swiping over from the security page, and there's the lights. The more lights you add, the more you can scroll up and down above them. And like Mitch was telling us earlier, there's a lot of lights out there that are certified. Lighting was a very popular category and still continues to grow. I'm showing you a few of the lights that we're compatible with, but it was too big to even list on the full page here. And this only represents the ones that we've personally looked at and verified and things like that. That interoperability Mitch was talking about and the certification we've done should make it so any Z-Wave light that's got the Z-Wave Plus logo should pair in just fine with the panel. We also have a really great lock thermostat, lock user interface. So if you swipe over from the lights, you get that locks page. And again, other people, Benoit, other people asked which lock is best. There's a lot of great locks out there: Kwikset, Schlage, Yale, August. So as long as it's got a Z-Wave radio in there, it should work just fine on the panel. And then if you add multiple lights, you can just simply swipe up and down between those, multiple locks. You can swipe up and down between those locks to get to them. We've also got thermostat support. My personal favorite is the alarm.com thermostat. And I love some of the rules you can create with all of these devices. We've talked a little bit about Bluetooth disarming and the great rules you can do with those. But thermostats especially is a great one because I've got 5 kids. And I don't know what it is about kids, but they are sure excited to go outside, and they never seem to remember to close the door after them. And so I've got a rule set up that says when door left open, automatically adjust the thermostat by 5 degrees. So I'm not blowing all of my heater or all of my air conditioner out into the world. That it literally puts a hold on my air conditioner fan or heater fan so that it's no longer functioning, and it automatically resumes again as soon as that door is closed. So it's a really, really nice integration. There's a lot of other really cool things like geofences. There was a question earlier today about thermostats and geofences. You can set it up so your thermostat automatically adjusts temperature when you drive away from home and automatically adjusts back again when you return. And regardless of whether or not your security system's armed, it could be completely independent from security. It could just be I just want my thermostat to turn off when I'm at work, and I want it to turn back on when I get home. In fact, I used to have 2 thermostat rules back years ago when my wife and I didn't really have any kids. I had 2 thermostat geofences. I had one that was around my work and one that was around my house. And I had a rule that said, when I leave home, turn the thermostat off. And when I leave work, turn the thermostat back on. And I wanted it when I left work so that by the time I got home, the house was all warmed up or all cooled down. And then otherwise it was turned off completely. So it was very aggressive, but you can do whatever you like. And we make it easy to install Z-Wave devices, very easy. We've got the on-screen wizard. If you haven't installed a panel before, pull one out or go shadow one of our technicians and watch that happen. The on-screen wizard makes it tremendously easy to pair your devices, especially Z-Wave devices, and that Z-Wave Smart Start, which allows you to scan the device or the QR code on the box, and then all you do is plug it in. You don't have to clear the device. You don't have to, power it up first. You literally just scan it and put it in. This makes it really, really nice. We've been talking a lot about nurturing your customers and getting them on new devices. If you don't have the kind of model where you want to drive a truck out to the customer's house every time they buy a new device, maybe Z-Wave Smart Start is right for you. And let's start exploring that together as a team and see how we can help you to remotely add devices to your customer's home. Now, Z-Wave Smart Start does have some caveats and requirements. The first thing is not all devices are Z-Wave Smart Start capable, right, Mitch?
Yeah, we only really launched that technology about 2 years ago, and so it's become mandatory with all the new certifications as of April this year. But yeah, it's rolling out little by little. But leave it to Qualsys to be jumping right on top of it and be right on the cutting edge.
Yeah, and you look for the QR code on the box. There should be a nice prominent QR code on the box, which should allow you to, pair it with the panel. Now, the other thing is the panel has to be Smart Start capable, and that requires a firmware update on the Z-Wave card. So panels are probably already out in the market right now, probably will not have that firmware update. New panels that are sent from the factory that already have our 2.4 software on it would have the right firmware on the Z-Wave card. If you wanted to flash the firmware on your Z-Wave card to allow it, you could do that, but it will completely delete the Z-Wave network. So that's why we don't recommend it for people who already have robust Z-Wave networks. And again, talk with our technical teams. They can walk you through the right approach for you. The other thing that I really love is our Z-Wave diagnostics. On screen, we actually will show the network topology. We'll show the full network, which devices are being used as repeaters. We've talked about how that network self-heals, how some devices are using other neighbor devices to get back to the panel because they're too far away from where the panel is and they can't reach, so they use their neighbors to try and get there. You can actually see that network, and instead of, trying to figure out like people used to and just trying to throw new devices in there hoping it works, now you can look at a network and say, okay, how healthy is this network? And it's all color-coded. The symbols and icons are very easy to see. Again, if you want a demo of that Z-Wave diagnostic tool, you should definitely join our Facebook group. We're doing Facebook Lives and that kind of stuff all the time. And that brings me to support. If you don't have access to the dealer portal, you need to get access today. It is chock full of training, videos and commercials, photos, icons, documentation, website assets, email templates, help with some more support, downloads. So go to dealers.qualsys.com and get your access today, because there's a lot of great stuff in there. I think we've got, almost 10,000 users on there already, hundreds of thousands of downloads that people are accessing these materials, and it's a great resource for you. We also want you to get certified. So on that dealer portal, the first tab is called training, and you'll have a great series of videos, either for technical or for sales, that you can provide to new employees to help them understand not only what security is and how all these devices work together, but how to sell it the right way. Or if they're installers, how to install it the right way. So it's a really, really great sales course, and we're always adding new courses to that. We also recommend you join a Facebook group. There's a lot, I was kind of anti-Facebook for a few years, and I think maybe some of you might feel the same way. But Facebook has made a resurgence with groups. And what we're seeing is that, in fact, this number, the 2,026 installers is far out of date. We're actually seeing more and more people going to individual groups where you can interact and, network with people just like you. There's an official Qualsys technicians and installers group. There's an official Qualsys distributors group, an official Qualsys sales and marketing group. We just barely started these up. There's also a group that's not built by Qualsys, but we participate heavily in it, called QualsysandAlarm.com installers. That number is inaccurate now because there's literally, I think, probably 1,000 more on there since then, but we're getting probably a new 100 to 200 people on that group all the time. And the great thing about these groups is you can go on there and pose a problem or an idea. Hey, I've got this particular scenario with home and I'm not sure what to do. And you'll get the whole entire community, including Qualsys employees, chiming in. Hey, try this, do that. Here's a link to this video. Here's a link to this document that'll help you out. It's a really, really great group, and it's a lot of really fun camaraderie. So I definitely recommend that you join one of those Facebook groups. Hopefully, you guys all have special pricing. In fact, we're going to do a quick little poll here in a moment. But we want you to take advantage of the specials that we're offering right now. You can get our 319 panel for $319. You can get a 2-1 kit for $349. We're also doing a sale on our Hardwire Fire, which with fire compatibility, hardwire takeover device, only $65. So some great specials there. Make sure you talk to your distributor about that. And do these 4 things: access the dealer portal, complete your online training, join those Facebook groups, and get special pricing. I do want to ask one quick poll as we depart today. Do you currently have special pricing on Qualsys products? And if the answer is not yet, then we're going to reach out to you and make sure we work with your distributor to get it for you. But as you guys are completing that poll, I just want to express my gratitude for Mitch. Mitch, you've been phenomenal. This is your 3rd and probably the best appearance you've had on our webinar. I'm excited for the next time we do this again. Thank you very much for taking the time.
Yeah, I'm really happy to do this.
Yeah, let me take a look real quick too as well and see what other questions we have. Benoit asks, are those specials in Canadian dollars? Unfortunately not. Those are the US dollars, but there is a Canadian equivalent. So great question. Michelle's asking, does the cell radio come with all the panels? And the answer is yes. That LTE radio is included in the panel. You don't have to pay separate for it like other people. And then let's see. when will IQ panels hit distribution? Frank's asking. And if you're asking about which the IQ panels with Smart Start enabled, I don't have that information. I need to find that out. I should have had that before this webinar today. But I believe if we're not shipping panels with 2.4 now, it will be soon. But that would also require your distribution to go through the inventory they have. So make sure that they've got it. And again, if it's something that's really important to you, Frank, and others on the line, get with our technical team. I'm sure there's something we can do to help you out. Dean says Dana Lock was considered compatible. And I believe that is accurate, but
the answer is
maybe
yes.
There's something about it. Yeah.
No, Dana Lock is Z-Wave. It should work. Yep.
Yep, it should work. Great. Daniel says, I love the panel camera, but angles aren't good when you use the kickstand. Will we ever be able to adjust the camera and where the panel's placed? Great question. That's actually something, a piece of feedback we've gotten, and we're working on our next generation platform. So be watching for that in our next generation platform when that comes out. And I won't say more than that on there. So again, Mitch, this has been really, really wonderful. I really appreciate your time today. I really appreciate everyone joining today. I hope you got some benefit out of today's webinar. I know it went a little longer than we expected, but hopefully the content was good and useful. Let us know how we can support you. Send an email to marketing@qualsys.com, and we will be happy to support you, to update your website, to help you, find sales materials, to point you in the right direction on the dealer portal, help you get training, things like that. And don't forget to check out all of our webinar recordings from our previous webinars on our YouTube channel. Again, that's youtube.com/Qualsys. I feel like there's a lot of things people need to do, and I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. We're here to help you. There's a lot to do, but it's exciting. There's a lot of fun things you can do, and we're here to help you. Baby steps, get all the way through it, and really be successful. So thank you again, Mitch. Thank you, everyone, for participating. And we'll leave the line open for just a few moments as we finish answering questions. But if you're done, then be watching for that webinar recording on YouTube. Otherwise, thank you again for joining. Mitch,
Awesome.
thanks again, everybody. And have a great day.